Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, giving you my Week 14 2021 NFL predictions. Well, for the Fanatic this week, it was just like last week, so there's some good and bad news with that perspective. So for the second straight week in a row, my against the spread and straight up records were both identical, which I will take that. But unfortunately, both of them did not cross the 10-win threshold for either. And in a 15-game week, and just like every week, you always want to try to get 10 wins a week. So that was the little bit of unfortunate news. But two straight weeks, 2 winning records, both against the spread and straight up. I will take that very happily. So against the spread and straight up, I went 8-5, both respectively. That equals up to 61.5% for the week in both ways. And now overall for the year against the spread, I am sitting at 86, 104-3 against the spread. And straight up, I am entering the end of the week at 118, 74, and 1. So that equals up to 45.3% against the spread, and straight up at 61.4%. So I will definitely take that. I'm definitely moving up my against the spread picks every week by a little bit. So I could probably get around that 47, hopefully 48% range. You know, who knows? We'll see. But I will gladly take 2 winning records against the spread, something rarely I've been able to do. And straight up, look, the 8-5 week, the only bad loss that I could sit here and tell everybody that I've got horribly wrong was the Chargers at the Bengals. They ended up beating the Los Angeles Chargers. Ended up beating the Bengals 41-22. The game essentially turned. The Chargers were up 24-0. They whittled down that lead to a 24-22 score. And then Joe Mixon fumbles the football, and Tavon Campbell picks it up for a go-ahead touchdown. The Bengals go 3-and-out the next drive, and Justin Herbert scores his 3rd touchdown of the day to, I believe it was Guyton again, and the Chargers ended up not looking back after that. The other few losses that I had, or the other 4 losses, Washington, Vegas came down to a slugfest, and it came down to a bogus non-PI call that wasn't called on Zay Jones. I forget this. By McCain, DPI'd Zay Jones, and they did not call it, and that ended up costing him the game. Even though kudos to Brian Johnson, his 5th career game. He was on the Saints for the first 4 games after their season-ending injury to Will Lutz, their fabulous kicker. But that was one of the losses, so that was a close BS kind of bogus loss. Nobody expected. I do want to congratulate, shout out to Half Moon's Picks and the whole Michigan, Detroit community, especially to Oxford, Michigan. My thoughts and prayers and condolences go out to everybody that was involved in the school shooting that happened there last week. But congratulations to the Lions. For the first time in 364 days, the Lions actually can say they have won a football game. And Jared Goff got his first win without head coach Sean McVay. Dan Campbell gets his first win, and congratulations for that. In that, I feel like for Dan Campbell, that should save his job. But at the end of the day, I also feel like that should seal Mike Zimmer's job for the rest of the year. Because the Vikings are the only team in the league, holistically, that have been in every single game this year. From weeks 1 to 13, in the 12 games they've been in, I can't think of a game that they lost or wasn't in that was a 1-score game. Either the ones they won or lost. They were in every single game against every level of competition, but they've somehow found a way to blow 7 of those games and win 5 of them in ways where they beat the Chargers and beat the Packers, but they've lost to the Lions, and they lost to the Lions. That just doesn't square away. But congrats to Detroit, Half Moon's Picks, and everybody out there in Michigan. Congratulations. You will not go 0-16-1. You get to save that for another year, or save it for somebody else down the road. But that was another one of the losses. You had Baltimore-Pittsburgh. That was brutal in the sense that I could not believe that John Harbaugh went for it on the 2-point conversion. The analytics tell you it's a 47% chance to get the play, and it's a 96% chance to go into overtime. And, and again, I get it. Mark Andrews was wide open. But John Harbaugh stupidly went with his stones. He wanted to show he had some big cojones. And it bit him in the rear end. And the Ravens went from holding the number 1 seed to probably end up fighting for the 3 or 4 seed if the Titans get healthy and with the Chiefs playing the way they are. So Lamar could very well be one and done again. And Lamar had a another dreadful game, and he threw that horrible interception to Minka Fitzpatrick. That in the beginning of the game kind of cost him 3 points. We got bailed out of a Chris Boswell missed extra point, even though he made a 53-yard field goal to make it a 1-point game. But at the end of the day, like, you go for overtime, and that's all I'm going to say, is that overtime in that spot, you go for 2 at home, you go for the tie on the road, because you have to get the crowd out of it. We drove 60 yards down the field, and we have Justin Tucker, they have Boswell. Justin Tucker is the best kicker in the league, and if we just got about 30 or 40 yards, and if we got to stop, we would have been able to win the game. Big Ben was not doing well through 3 quarters. He played sensational in the 4th. Kudos to him. But I vehemently disagreed with that decision. And it's a difference between Pittsburgh going for it. There's a difference between Pittsburgh going for it up 5 and Baltimore being down 1. Totally different scenarios, totally different understandables and justifications. Even though Mike Tomlin did have a great troll job with the line of saying that the Ravens are aggressive analyticers, and that makes them predictable. What a great, funny line from Mike Tomlin. It was against my team. And then just quickly a couple of other things. The Cardinals, first team since I think it's the 1960 or 64 Cowboys to win their first 7 road games by at least 10 points each. They're undefeated on the road this year. Kyler played well. He had 4 total touchdowns. DeAndre Hopkins had a great game. James Conner with his 12th or 13th touchdown from scrimmage. He's leading the team by a mile, and he's leading the league, I believe. He's leading the whole league in terms of scrimmage touchdowns. The Cardinals are fantastic. They're clear and far away the best team in the NFC, and I think they are the most dangerous team. Right behind them would be the Packers and the Bucks. I'd probably take the Bucks now because I feel like the Packers, they're not going to get, the Packers are going to get some guys back, so that could kind of balance out. But I feel like with the Bucks, like there's just more confidence in Tampa with the experience they have, and the Packers just, I don't know, just kind of feel like they're just kind of going through the motions. So that's my opinion. So kudos to the Cardinals. The Seahawks got a big win over the Niners in surprising fashion. Jimmy Garoppolo throwing a horrible interception to Ali Wagner. The Seahawks had 3 turnovers themselves. It came down to basically Carlos Dunlap batting the ball down against the Niners offensive line. In Seattle, bare and slim playoff chances hang on by a thread where the Niners fall to the 7th seed. And kudos to Washington, by the way, for winning 4 straight games. So those are my quick thoughts on the previous games from last week. The buys for this week, we're in the final week of the bye season. The Indianapolis Colts, the Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, and Philadelphia Eagles are all on buys this week. So if you have Jonathan Taylor, the Colts defense, Tua, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, Mac Jones, Patriots defense, Damian Harris, Hunter Henry, Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, the Eagles defense, Jake Elliott, Nick Folk. If you have any of those players in your fantasy teams, bench them. They will not be playing this week. But then after this coming week, it'll be the end of the bye season, and we will have 64 more games to go to end the regular season for the 2021 season. 64 games, 4 weeks of 16 games. This will be great. Let's see how it goes. All right, it's time for my picks for this week. All right, so on Thursday, when the 6-5-1 Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Minnesota to take on the 5-7 Minnesota Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings are 3-point favorites in this game. In an upset here, or in a slight way, I am going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers here +3, and the Pittsburgh Steelers here to win straight up. And on Sunday, when the 8-4 Baltimore Ravens travel to Cleveland to take on the 6-6 Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Browns are 2-point favorites in this game. Give me the Cleveland Browns here in a bit of an upset, people would say, because I definitely know the Browns have not been great over the last several weeks, and the Ravens have been up and down themselves. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns here, -2, and the Cleveland Browns straight up. Then the next game, when the 2-10 Jacksonville Jaguars travel to Tennessee to take on the 8-4 Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are 10.5-point favorites in this game. Give me the Tennessee Titans here -10.5, and Tennessee Titans straight up. Then the next game, when the 6-6 Las Vegas Raiders travel to Kansas City to take on the 8-4 Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are 9.5-point favorites in this game. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs here -9.5, and the Kansas City Chiefs straight up. Then the next game, when the 5-7 New Orleans Saints travel to New York to take on the 3-9 New York Jets. The New Orleans Saints are 6-point favorites in this game. giving the New Orleans Saints here -6, and the New Orleans Saints straight up. Then the next game, when the 8-4 Dallas Cowboys travel to Washington to take on the 6-6 Washington football team, the Dallas Cowboys are 5-point favorites in this game. Give me the Dallas Cowboys here to win straight up, but I'm going to take the Washington football team +5. Then the next game, when the 5-7 Atlanta Falcons travel to Carolina to take on the 5-7 Carolina Panthers, the Carolina Panthers are 3-point favorites to win this football game. This game is such a 50-50 bad, awkward toss-up game that I am going to take here the Atlanta Falcons +3, but I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers here to win straight up. Then the next game, when the 4-8 Seattle Seahawks travel to Houston to take on the 2-10 Houston Texans, the Seattle Seahawks are 7.5-point favorites to win this game. Give me Seattle here -7.5 and Seattle straight up. Then the next game, when the 1-10-1 Detroit Lions, woohoo, congratulations to Detroit again, go to Denver to take on the 6-6 Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are 8-point favorites in this game. Give me the Detroit Lions here +8, but I'm going to take the Denver Broncos straight up. Then the next game, when the 4-8 New York Giants travel to Los Angeles to take on the 7-5 Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers are 10-point favorites in this game. Give me the Los Angeles Chargers here -10 and Los Angeles Chargers straight up. Then the next game, when the 8-4 or 7-5 Buffalo Bills travel to Tampa Bay to take on the 9-3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-point favorites in this game. Give me Tampa Bay here -3 and Tampa Bay straight up. And in the next game, when the 6-6 San Francisco 49ers travel to Cincinnati to take on the 7-5 Cincinnati Bengals. This game is essentially a pick'em. It is a 1-point spread either way. I am going to go with the upset here. Give me the San Francisco 49ers here +1 and the San Francisco 49ers straight up. And on Sunday Night Football, when the 4-8 Chicago Bears travel to Green Bay to take on the 9-3 Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are 12.5-point favorites in this game. Give me the Green Bay Packers here -12.5 and the Green Bay Packers straight up. And finally, in the Monday night game, when the 8-4 Los Angeles Rams go to Arizona to take on the 10-2 Arizona Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals are 3-point favorites in this game. Give me the Arizona Cardinals here -3 and the Arizona Cardinals straight up. All right, it's time for my thoughts. Quick thoughts on each game. The Pittsburgh Steelers over the Minnesota Vikings. This game to me comes down to three things, okay? Because I look at these two teams, and you could say Minnesota has more talent. Kirk Cousins completing 68% of his passes, 25 touchdowns, 3,300 yards, 3 interceptions. He has a couple fumbles in there, which isn't great, but, so he has about 5 total turnovers. This man is an MVP candidate. He is putting up MVP-type numbers. However, the problem is his team is so bad, or he just goes through every game to where he has missed more than he's won. He's missed more than he's hit. There's no way he gets in because his team's 5-7. And again, they lost Dalvin Cook. He's not going to play this game. He wasn't in the last yesterday. Though Madison did have 90 yards, so he did a decent job. Justin Jefferson had another sensational game, another over 150-plus yard receiving day with a touchdown. And I know Minnesota, they have all the talent out there, and they probably have a more talented, complete team compared to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are just being held up or being carried by a defense led by T.J. Watt, who had 3.5 sacks yesterday. He has 13.5 sacks for the year. He's number one in combined with sacks and TFLs. They had Najee Harris, who was great at the end of the game, pounding the ball. You had Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, James Washington. You had Pat Freiermuth coming in as a legitimate number one tight end. He was the one that got the 2-point conversion. And I just feel like, again, like the Steelers are not nearly as good as the Vikings all around. But number 2, Adam Thielen, their second best wide receiver, left the game with an ankle injury. They said he has a high ankle sprain, and that's going to be significant because I feel like, again, even Joe Hayden might come back with his foot eventually, but he might be out again another week dealing with a foot injury he's been nagging with for a couple weeks now. But you look at the Vikings and go, then the Vikings could beat the Steelers. They should beat the Steelers. They're better all the way around. But let's just remember, everybody, this is Kirk Cousins we're talking about here. And the one thing that everybody knows about Kirk Cousins is you cannot trust the man in primetime television. The man is 2-5 on Thursday Night Football, and overall in his 25 games in primetime TV, he is 8-17. So unfortunately for Vikings fans, they also play next Monday night as well, so it could be back-to-back L's for the Vikings. And I just think for me, look, the Steelers, they pretty much stayed out of Thursday's game unscathed. They've been dealing with injuries. They've been working through them. I think with the Vikings, they miss Darrisaw, the one offensive tackle. He might not be able to play, which would be huge, especially against that Pittsburgh defensive front. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take the Pittsburgh experience, Pittsburgh's defensive edge, Pittsburgh's quarterback edge, and I just think Kirk Cousins in a primetime spot will be able to lose this game by a strip fumble, by a weird coverage, and I'm going to trust Mike Tomlin to outcoach Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer has a lot more talent across the board in terms of receivers, defenders, maybe not pass rush, but better secondary guys, tight end depth, because I like Conklin and Herndon, even though Tyler Conklin's actually put up a much more significant role. But at the end of the day, better defense, better coach, and Kirk Cousins is 8-17 in primetime football games. If Minnesota would have closed at least 2 to 3 of those other games, Minnesota would easily be, in my opinion, the pick for this game and the confidence. I thought it would be a 1 to 2 point spread. I did not expect the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though I guess it is a Vikings home game. I would have thought Pittsburgh would have been at least a 1.5 to 2. I would have dropped the spread by at least a point. But if you're giving me Pittsburgh with 3 points, the experience of Tomlin, the pretty much healthy group of guys that they have so far, Kirk's going to have a tough time. That's not nearly going to be as effective. And not having Adam Thielen, if they can just double team Justin Jefferson, let KJ Osborne and everybody else beat you on the Vikings. And I don't think they can. And the Steelers grind out another tough, brutal, Pittsburgh defensive dominance type of game from the Steelers. And that's why I have them winning this game. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Minnesota won this game. And I would just tell you, I think the advantage is that Minnesota is the favorite here. I think also that's why I'm going with Pittsburgh +3. I just feel like in Pittsburgh somehow we either find a way to win the game or the Vikings win off a last-second field goal that gets it to a 2 to 3 point game. Who knows? I think it's a very interesting game. I think Minnesota has a lot more to lose compared to Pittsburgh because Minnesota still has to play the Packers and the Bears twice. And I forget the other game, but it's like they're going to have maybe another loss on the horizon. Where Pittsburgh, they know they have to play Baltimore again. They'll have to play Cleveland again. And I just feel like they need this win to keep not only afloat in the wildcard picture, but in the AFC North as well. The Steelers are right there. Sounds like Pittsburgh here +3 and Pittsburgh straight up. The next game, the Cleveland Browns over the Baltimore Ravens. This is a game that, after last night, the reason why I'm going with the Cleveland Browns is the fact that the Baltimore Ravens might have lost their best cornerback in cornerback Marlon Humphrey. It is appeared to believe that he has torn his pectoral muscle, so he will likely be out for the year. That leaves Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Deshaun Elliott. A lot of great safeties and corners, along with our running backs, are just going into the emergency room, going into the injury ward, and it's not great. The running game has been kind of awkward and inconsistent. Lamar was our leading rusher once again. We just played this Browns team a couple weeks ago. They know that they should have beaten us if Baker was fully healthy or they started Case Keenum. I don't think we win that game. I think the Browns defense, look, TJ Watt had 3.5 sacks. Myles Garrett had a sack just 2 weeks ago in the same game in Baltimore. And I just don't know if Lamar will be ready to play this defense again. I think he'll be better, and he might not throw 4 interceptions. But I just feel like, again, the Browns were angry. They're motivated, and they understand the opportunity here. Running with Nick Chubb, running with dominance, running with consistency, not having Jack Conklin on the right side will be significant. But in this game, I'm going to take the Browns because I know they are hungrier, they are more motivated, and I just don't know what the Ravens, what they're going to do at any given time. I think they run the ball with Nick Chubb fairly well, and the Browns save their season with a split of division games against the Ravens. Should be a tough, gritty, old-school defensive type game, and I know a lot of people love that, and I would tell you, if you want to see a lot of defense, not a lot of great offense, grinding type of game, watch this one. It's probably going to be the best one for that type of fan for this week. So that's why I like Cleveland here -2 and Cleveland straight up. The next game, the Tennessee Titans over the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is one to where the Jacksonville Jaguars suck. Simple as that. The Jaguars suck. They cannot run the football. Their defense was getting shredded by Matthew Stafford, who, after throwing a pick 6 in 3 straight games, he had 3 touchdowns. Odell Beckham had a nice touchdown along with 28 receiving yards. Sony Michel ran for about 100 yards and a touchdown himself. Cooper Kupp had another great touchdown, another great 30-yard plus explosive play. The Rams handled their business from top to bottom. One of the first drives of the game, Aaron Donald strips one of the Jags players, and Ramsey picks it up, I believe, and it's just one of those games to where I know the Titans, look, they haven't been great. They lost to the Texans. They got blown out by the Pats. And here come the Jags, who, have had moments where they've been competitive, have had moments where they've shown some promise. But at the end of the day, the last couple weeks, getting decimated by the Niners and then following that up with this game against the Rams, I just don't think the Jags are really into what Urban Meyer's trying to sell them. If I'm Urban Meyer, I consider going out to Oregon. And I just think with the Titans, if they get Julio Jones, if they activate it out of the IR window for a few weeks, he should be back sooner or later. And I think the Titans easily get this victory. Could the Jags cover that 10.5? Sure. Because I feel like, again, the Jags beat Buffalo. The Titans are around the Buffalo-type level. Their defense plays well enough, and that offensive line can't hold up. For Tennessee, it will definitely cause a problem, but I'm going to take the Titans here. Just run the ball more effectively, have a better play-action passing, and I just do not believe in anything the Jags offense stands for. Not too much better for the defense, but I do kind of acknowledge that the Titans should be able to bounce back with a nice win over a much inferior opponent. Let's see what happens next week when you have to play. I believe it's either. No, I'm sorry. That's. I believe it's San Fran in 2 weeks. So let's see how good the Titans are when they play a more respectable and a decent team in the San Francisco 49ers. So that's why I like Tennessee here, minus 10.5, and Tennessee straight up. The next game, the Kansas City Chiefs over the Las Vegas Raiders. I am taking the Kansas City Chiefs here to win this football game based on the fact that I think the Chiefs have been on a dominant roll in this 5-game win streak. Their defense has played outstanding. They have the best second-half defense in the last 20 or 30 years. They held the Broncos to under 10 points. Even though I do have to say, I do have a problem with Teddy Bridgewater now in 2 of the last 3 weeks, just kind of giving very little concerted effort in trying to stop someone who caught his interception that was going for a touchdown. Darius Slay a couple weeks ago, this time was Daniel Sorensen, who's been getting ripped by Kansas City fans, the Kansas City media. But I just feel like with the Chiefs, there's a confidence there that I do not see with the Raiders. The Raiders have had some bad breaks, no doubt. They've had some moments of pure fun, pure frustration, pure anger, and it just seems like it's boiling over, or it just seems like it hasn't been able to click since Derek Carr's come back in and Rich Versace has taken over as the new interim coach. But also at the end of the day, Andy Reid has a sensational record against the AFC West. I believe he is 20-3 all time in this division. The Raiders only won one time in Kansas City since Derek Carr has been a Raider. I believe that was week 4 or 5 a couple years ago. Week 4 or 5 last year. That was the first time Derek Carr won in the Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs outright. I don't think that happens for a second straight year. In this game, I feel more confident in the Chiefs sweeping the Raiders after what I've seen out of the Chiefs defense and what I've seen out of the Raiders' lack of offense, especially with Darren Waller out. And Kenyon Drake is also going to be out for the year with a broken ankle. I don't expect the Raiders to put up any type of significant fight. I think the Chiefs win at least by 10 points. Should be a very interesting game because I feel like, again, the Raiders are still fighting for it, but the Chiefs, they're trying to build consistency and they want to get Patrick Mahomes throwing and playing like he did before, the Super Bowl, where he was a clear MVP and clear best overall talent in the league. Now I kind of feel like he's not Brady, he's not Rodgers, he's not Stafford right now. He's playing the worst level of football of his career, but they've won 5 straight games because I feel like it's part of the competition. Also, part of it is because they have been able to put together a formula that works while Patrick can continue to improve on his throwing and consistency. So that's why I like the Kansas City Chiefs here, minus 9.5. The Kansas City Chiefs straight up. The next game, the Saints over the Jets. This is a game to where I am taking the New Orleans Saints here, minus 6, just because I've watched the Jets. They're not very good. The Jets, they gave up another 33 points to Gardner Minshew. Miles Sanders had over 100 yards. Miles Sanders had over 100 yards. I feel like with the Saints, that defense should do well enough against whatever the Jets have in terms of, receiving. They've only have 2 legit receivers in Elijah Moore and Corey Davis, and they're not really anything to write home about. Hopefully, Alvin Kamara will be back. He should be able to be effective. Hopefully, and Kamara and Ingram can run the ball against the worst run defense in the entire league, which is the Jets. And I just feel like, again, like the Saints, Taysom Hill, he has the mallet finger, which was the same exact injury that Russell Wilson had several weeks ago. I think it's stupid that apparently they said that it did not tear all the way through, but it tore enough that he could play, but he's not going to be great. He also threw 4 interceptions in the second half against the Cowboys. And it's just, to me, a way of saying, for the Saints, they just have a better overall team. And I think if Kamara, Ingram, and Tony Jones can run the ball effectively, they win this game by controlling the clock, making Simeon or Hill throw very short, can sink passes, get first downs instead of touchdowns, go for the singles instead of home runs, and the Saints very easily cover, play well, and end their, what would it be, a 4-game losing streak, which has been one of the worst for the Saints in a very long time. First time since, I believe, 2015-2016, they have lost this many games by the bye and by halftime. And for Robert Saleh and the Jets, look, man, he's had a couple nice moments. He won against the Texans last week, but I just feel like when you watch the Jets and whoever they play, they're a good or respectable team. Usually the good or respectable team rolls over them with really no problem. So that's the problem, I think, that the Robert Saleh really has to look at his team and say, you need to play for everybody and you need to protect everybody unless you want to start a big brawl or a big confrontation. So that's why I like New Orleans here -6 and New Orleans straight up. The next game, the Dallas Cowboys over the Washington football team. This is one to where I am taking the Dallas Cowboys because Washington, I believe, is just too hurt. Washington did not have J.D. McKissick, does not have J.D. McKissick, it does not have Landon Collins, it does not have Logan Thomas, who unfortunately has found out he has probably torn his ACL and his MCL and will get immediate surgery, which would be significant for him. Hopefully he gets healthy and gets back to playing at a very good level. But I just look at Dallas and go, you're going to have a rested squad. I think Zeke, you don't need Zeke to play. I'd put Tony Pollard in the game. I think he's been able to produce more longer and consistent runs for the Cowboys. The Cowboys defense got 4 big turnovers. I don't know if they get that many against Washington, where Taylor Heineke has played pretty well, amazingly. He's earned the right, in my opinion, to get an opportunity for the starting job. You could still draft a quarterback if you're Washington at whatever spot, but I feel like Taylor Heineke has played well enough on a 4-game win streak, only about 2 or 3 turnovers in the whole game that we count as interceptions. I can't think of the fumbles right now, but he's played that well that I believe that for Washington, this game will not be as sound and as devastating as people in Baltimore really think it is. And I have enough confidence that I think Washington covers. It's a 5-point spread. And I just feel, again, it could be a 4-point game. It could come down to Joey Sly or Brian again. And I think he kicks, a field goal to get a backdoor cover, but it doesn't end. And I think the Cowboys survive another tough, gritty road divisional game, which will be huge going forward in the postseason, especially in terms of wildcard seeding. Do I think Dallas has a shot to beat them? Absolutely. I just don't know if they can with what they have right now. So that's like the Dallas Cowboys here straight up at the Washington football team +5. The next game, the Carolina Panthers over the Atlanta Falcons. I hedged my bet here because honestly, I don't know exactly what to say about these two teams. They're both bad. They both tried to they both tried to convince people that they were good at some point. And I know the Falcons and Panthers, they're both 5-7. And this is a huge tiebreaker game in terms of that last wildcard spot. So this game, you could say it's a meaningless game for most people in the country, for bad and good teams. But it definitely the Big Ten area, definitely around there, I feel like, and definitely in the South, the Panthers and Falcons, this is a huge game. And at the end of the day, I'm going to take the Panthers because they're home. And I just think, again, P.J. Walker came in and was able to give Arthur Smith a tough loss. I don't think Cam will do that exact way, but I have confidence in the Panthers staff, even though they did fire Joe Brady, to beat the Falcons staff in this type of close, tough, physical, gritty AFC North style game. Not AFC North, NFC South type of game. NFC South type of game in the Falcons and Panthers. So that's why I like the Atlanta Falcons here +3, but the Carolina Panthers straight up. The next game, the Seattle Seahawks over the Houston Texans. Davis Mills is starting probably this week for the Texans. Tyrod Taylor suffered some ligament damage in one of his wrists. The Seahawks felt confident. Russell Wilson goes to 19-4 against the 49ers all time. He put up another few touchdowns. He should have had 3, but Gerald Everett coughed up the ball at the goal line. And it was about 2 yards away. Kind of the same thing for the Niners happened to the Ravens. 2-point conversion tried to tie the game or to at least get in position. They failed, and the Seahawks squeak away with a very tough and gritty game at the end, to where beforehand it was just a bunch of offense going up and down the field. So I think this game is going to be very decisive. The Texans don't have a quarterback right now at all, and I just feel like Russ is going to just have himself a field day against this horrible Houston defense, which gave over 140 yards, Jonathan Taylor, and 2 touchdowns. He's leading anybody in their league in terms of total touchdowns by a running back, and definitely by a football player. He has some of the highest in the league as well. I just think against Seattle, too dominant. Even though the Jamal Adams injury will hurt, I think the Seahawks are too dominant. They're too consistent. And I feel like they have a little bit of tiny confidence. As long as they keep winning a couple of these more games, they're going to put themselves right back into the playoff consideration. And what a great way for Seattle to start that by beating the Houston Texans in a meaningless game for the Texans, and a big game for the Seahawks to keep barely above water. So that's like Seattle here minus 7.5, and Seattle straight up. The next game, the Denver Broncos over the Detroit Lions. I am taking the Denver Broncos here because as great as it was for Dan Campbell, Oxford, Michigan, and an entire community to cope with the loss of life that happened last week, I feel like the Lions put up their best effort, and kudos to Dan Campbell as well for dedicating the ball to Michigan. I keep saying this, Oxford, Michigan, for their condolences, their prayers, and their best wishes to that entire community that was affected last week. And I'm going to take the Lions here +8 because I believe in the Broncos not enough. They can win by 10-point games if it is not a really bad team. And you could argue, look, the Lions are still a bad team. But I feel like the Lions, they've been more competitive, they've been more consistent, and I feel like they're going to put up a much better fight than what the Broncos were expecting. And I think the Broncos win, but I feel like the Lions have a okay shot to try. So, to at least cover. So that's why I like the Denver Broncos here to win straight up at Detroit +8. The next game, the Los Angeles Chargers over the New York Giants. The Chargers were on a roll. Herbert had 3 touchdowns and a pick. He seemed to play pretty well consistently. He had some really good luck with 50-50 footballs that I thought some were, unnecessary. Some of them were just fantastic catches. Some of them were fantastic throws. And I just feel like with the Chargers, look, the Chargers have beaten the Giants on a consistent rate. This is the great Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning type of bowl to where both teams had, Rivers and Manning. Manning was originally drafted to be a Charger, but then he left because he didn't want to play there. Ends up being a Giant. So definitely this type of rivalry, there is that kind of bad blood there. But I just feel like, again, Justin Herbert typically tends to play really well at home. I think the Chargers, look, they're going to get a lot of Giants fans at that stadium. But I feel like with the Los Angeles Chargers, they have more talent, they have more consistency, and they don't have Daniel Jones at quarterback, who's one of the worst in the league. So I think it should be an interesting game, and I feel like, again, just like with the Giants-Rams a couple years ago, I feel like it could be a close game again, and I think that's the problem that I think Charger fans should be focused on. So that's why I like the Los Angeles Chargers here, -10, the Los Angeles Chargers straight up. The next game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Buffalo Bills. I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. Tom Brady over Josh Allen. I know, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a phenomenal run defense, so I don't think Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, or Matt Breida are going to get any kind of ground game going. And I feel like I know Josh Allen's going to have an edge at the secondary with the receivers he has, Dawson Knox, Tyler Kroft in the middle of the field. I just don't think he'll have enough time to stand in the pocket long enough to make these plays, because I feel like that front four is playing the best football of the season at this point. And I just have confidence in Tampa to win this game. They've been undefeated at home. Only the Packers are the are the only other team not undefeated at home. Brady usually plays incredibly well, and I just cannot, for the life of me, trust Josh Allen in back-to-back weeks against the greatest coach and the greatest player of all time in these big spots. Should be an interesting game. Probably the last most competitive game Tampa Bay has for the whole year after they play their final 4 weeks with the Jets twice. With the Panthers twice, the Saints, and the Jets. Those are their final 4 games. I think Tampa wins all of them and gives them a good enough shot to get the number 1 seed in the entire AFC Conference. So that's like Tampa Bay here, -3, Tampa Bay straight up. The next game, the San Francisco 49ers over the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a game to where I'm going to take the 49ers because Jimmy Garoppolo healthy is better than Joe Burrow hurt. That's the biggest reason why. This is a game that, again, any way you pick it, you're not going to look bad. I think the 49ers do not have nearly as much talent as the Bengals, but the most important talent for the Bengals, Joe Burrow, is dealing with a dislocated finger. He is supposed to be out for several weeks, and I just feel like in this game, though, that type of loss, it'll be very hard to come back from for the Bengals. And even though you could argue, look, they did the same thing against the Browns, these two teams right now are fighting for the 7th seed in the AFC. And I just feel like with the Bengals of a 85% Burrow, Joe Mixon's okay. He came back in and played well. I really think that the Niners win this football game based on Jimmy Garoppolo being better healthy compared to the Bengals. Sorry. Yeah, I feel like with the Bengals, with Joe Burrow, I was saying Mixon. This is mine. And I feel like with Joe Burrow's pinky injury, a 70% Joe Burrow cannot beat a 49er squad with Jimmy fully healthy. I know Jimmy hasn't been, sensational, and I get that. Jimmy was up and down, but again, Jimmy squad fully healthy, Joe Burrow playing with a dislocated pinky. These two teams last time around played, and I think the Niners won. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, no, they won. The Niners beat this Bengals team a couple years ago. I think this Bengals team is a lot better, but giving the Niners here healthier quarterback, a little bit more of a consistency with defense, and I just feel like they're getting more turnovers, and I don't think I have an answer for Kittle. To where the Bengals, I feel like they're not getting the ball to chase, and I feel like the Niners defensive line should be able to get more pressure compared to the Bengals. But we'll see. So that's what San Francisco here +1 and San Francisco 49ers straight up. Then the final 2 games, the Green Bay Packers over the Chicago Bears. Giving the Packers here, the Bears are a mess. The Packers usually roll this series. The Packers have been one of the more consistent teams in the league. The Bears have already lost by 10+ points a few good amount of times. And I just feel like, again, the Packers are rested. Rodgers should be rested. Aaron Jones and Dell will be back as a duo, and that Packers defense has been great and consistent. And with a Bears team that's been not having Allen Robinson, the running game really hasn't been effective. And Justin Fields is not there because due to his rib injury. Andy Dalton, who on the first throw of his game against the Cardinals yesterday threw a pick. It's just not all looking great for the Bears to go into Green Bay and find any chance in winning, not alone just covering a 12.5 point spread. This game should be over quickly. This game should be done by the half or the early third quarter, and everybody should be able to relax in Green Bay as they get to go on to their next big game, which I believe is against not the Lions. It is Green Bay's playing. I'll have to look it up. But Green Bay's playing another big opponent. I know they're playing Baltimore in 2 weeks, but they have a big game coming up next week, which will be big, for them. So that's like Green Bay here, -12.5, and Green Bay straight up. And finally, the Arizona Cardinals over the Los Angeles Rams. I am taking the Arizona Cardinals here because I just feel like they are getting healthy. They're pretty much fully back healthy to this point. And with the Rams, they usually beat up these tomato cans of teams in the Jags, the Texans, the Bears. Trying to think of some of their other wins. I know they beat the Colts, which, looks pretty good today. They beat up on the... also the Rams beat up on. They beat up on the Texans. They beat up on the... they beat up on the Jags. They beat up on the Seahawks. These are all just the poor and unfortunate teams in the league. The Cardinals have been one of the best and consistent ones. And I feel like for the Cardinals, if they want to genuinely knock out the entire division, it has to come to this game to where if they sweep the Rams, they've already swept the Niners. They have one game left against the Seahawks, which they should probably win even with their backups. And I just feel really good about what the Cardinals stand at right now. They have Darrell Henderson was out. Sonny Michel did a good job, but I don't think he's nearly going to get as many yards against the Cardinals defense compared to what he got against the Jags defense. And I just feel like, again, the Cardinals, they showed a lot of people wrong. Maybe the Rams kind of proved it the other way. But the last time we saw the Rams Monday Night Football against a division opponent on the road, they got their runs kicked 30-something to 10. So I think it could very well be similar to what happened the last time we saw Monday Night Football just a few weeks ago. So that's why I like the Arizona Cardinals here, -3, and the Arizona Cardinals straight up. And that is it. So for this week, like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Please check out the NFL YouTube Prognosticators page to see other great prognosticators like Half Moon's Picks, Bridgewater's Finest, Keith Bailey, Big Sports Fan Talk. Please also check out RB Take with or Philly Take with RB. He's a great Philadelphia sports content creator. I've been watching his stuff. Want to give him a nice shout out. And check out Fire and Brim Sports, and check out all those other great prognosticators like myself that make these predictions. And that is it. So until next week for my Week 14 NFL predictions, good luck to all players, coaches, teams, fellow prognosticators, and fantasy players. And until next week, this is Matt the NFL Fanatic signing off. Until next time, so long.